This arrangement is one of 3 as a part of a Celtic medley that was voted on over at the Patreon page. You can check it out in the link below. That's where you'll find the tab to this, as well as lots of other lessons, and you can become a part of it to help decide what next month's tutorial will be. That being said, let's go ahead and jump into Loch Lomond. To kick things off here, we're going to do what's called a pickup bar, or an anacrusis, and you'll see it's just 2 notes. You're going to start with your index finger here on the 2nd fret of the C string, then take your middle finger and place it on the 2nd fret of the E string. This immediately goes into the first real measure of the song, and what you'll notice is the 2 on the C string is going to stay put. We're going to add 3 with the ring finger onto the E string and go ahead and take off the middle finger at this point. So we have, then we'll play the 3 on the E string, then the open A. So the pickup bar into the first bar sounds something like this. Now, as far as technique for playing the notes, you'll notice I'm using my thumb, and I will be using my thumb throughout the entire piece. I think it's a great exercise to get really comfortable with that thumb picking style. One thing that I think is really important as you're working with it is to cradle the ukulele with your fingers on the hand that's playing, and try to have the thumb about a 45 to perpendicular angle across the strings, right around where the sound hole is, somewhere around where it meets the body of the uke, a little bit more south. So right around that area. You'll notice my wrist sort of pokes out a little bit. This helps me get a really good angle to each of those strings. So again, the beginning of this should sound something like. Now as we go right into the next measure, we're going to play a full G chord here. So go ahead and fret index on 2 of the C, ring on 3 of the E, which both should be left over from the previous chord. Then add our middle finger here on 2 of the A, strum all the way through. Then we'll remove the middle finger, play open on the A, then 3 on the E. So that measure is. Now we're going to go to an A minor chord. Simply take your index finger, move it up to the 2nd fret of the G string, and remove your other 2 fingers. Strum all the way through. And open on the A. Then add your ring finger on 3 of the E. Now I like to leave my index finger here for the A minor during the whole measure so that it can continue to ring. And that'll be a reoccurring part of this too, where we want the chords to continue to resonate as we're playing the melody notes. That's what gives you a really full sound with this style of chord melody. So that measure sounds like this. Now as we go to the next measure here, we're going to simply take our index finger, move it down to the 2nd fret of the C string, remove our other fingers, play a 0 on the G, C, and E, strumming through our thumb. And as we do this, I like to stop on the A string. Just like earlier in the song when we're only playing a few strings at a time, it's okay to go right into that string and just stop. Then we'll play 2 on the C, and then add the middle finger on 2 of the E. So that measure is. And now we go back and play the next measure, which is very similar to the first full measure of the song. We're going to add our ring finger on 3 of the E, leaving our index still here at 2 of the C. Play just the G, C, and E. Then we'll play the E string again. Then we're going to go to the next measure in which we play those 3 strings again, the G, C, E. Add our middle finger here to 2 of the A string, and then we're going to stretch our pinky out to 5 on the A. Now if that stretch is particularly difficult, it's okay to remove your fingers, but if you do remove them, notice how the ringing will stop. But if we leave them on, we get that nice resonance. So the ultimate goal is to leave the fingers on and gain that flexibility, get the pinky all the way up there. It takes some practice, but it's well worth it to get that resonance. Now we enter measure 7. We're going to simply slide our pinky finger up 2 frets to fret 7. We're going to strum all the way through all 4 strings. And now what we're going to do is leave our pinky on. We're going to add our middle finger on 4 of the C string and our index finger on 3 of the E string. And when I do this, I actually like to bar across the E and the A strings together, not because of this chord, but because of the one that comes next. So doing that little bar there can really help for the next chord. But let's go ahead and play that chord first. So that measure is open with the 7, and add those 2 fingers. Now going into the next measure, measure 8, you'll notice I mentioned this bar here, and the reason is we take off our pinky and slide these 2 fingers up 2 frets so that we have 6 on the C string, and then 5 on the E and 5 on the A string together. You'll notice what's written on the tab is to just play the C, E, and A at 6, 5, 5. The next chord within this bar, we're just going to take this ring finger and place it on the 7th fret of the E string. Leave these 2 fingers exactly where they are. All right, so that bar is really coming in handy having it earlier. So this measure is. Now from here, we're going to go all the way up to 7, all the way across the C, E, and A string. So we just take our index finger and slide it up to fret 7, but we want to get up to the C string as well. So we're barred across 7 on the C, E, and A strings, just like so. Strum through the C, E, and A. We're then going to play the 7 on the A again. And if you notice that it's a little bit difficult to get a good sound on that A string with this bar, that's probably because the way that you're pushing the bar is too much like this, with the finger having a bend here. By making sure that you're flat across the string and then curving a little bit to pinch on this point here on the A string, it can really help get a better tone. So we'll play that 7 again. And then we're going to take our pinky, put it to 10 on the E string, making sure there's a nice bend in that first knuckle here on the pinky, and play the 10th fret by itself. So that measure is. Now I think this is probably the most difficult part of the song, is where we have to slide to. We're going to remove our index finger, place our middle finger on the 6th fret of the C string, and we're going to place our ring finger on the 7th fret of the E string. So we have 6 on the C with the middle, and 7 on the E with the ring. Now we're going to play just those 2 strings. I'm again using my thumb, starting at the C and then stopping on the A string, so I only get the C and E to ring. And then I'm going to play the 7 again on the E. Then I'm going to take my index and add it to 5 on the A, leaving the other 2 fingers in position. So that measure is. Now from here, it gets a little bit easier. I'm going to remove my middle and ring fingers. I'm going to slide the index finger down 2 frets to fret 3. I'm going to strum through the C, E, and A strings. Then I'm going to go down to 2 on the A, just slide that finger down, then remove it to play open. Then I'm going to add my ring finger on fret 3 of the E string. So that measure sounds something like. Only what we want to make sure we do is use our ring finger here on the 3 of the E. You'll notice it's really natural and easy to just kind of keep using this index finger, but we want to build good fretting habits. The reason we use the index finger here on the 3rd fret of the A is because of where we came from all the way up here. But once we go to the 3 on the E, it's nice to use the ring finger to sort of set up our hand now in this area. So moving on to measure 12, we play all open, take our fingers back off, skipping the A string, only playing the G, C, and E. Index finger on 2 of the C, and then middle finger on 2 of the E. So that measure sounds like. Now from here, we're going to go to another G chord sound. And we're going to be doing that same sort of transition we were doing before, where we're going to have our ring finger here on 3 of the E, index finger still here on 2 of the C. We're going to play the G, C, and E strings. Then add our middle finger on 2 of the A to make it into a G chord. Again, leaving the fingers where they are. And the last note of that is stretching the pinky up to 5 on the A. So that measure is. Now, if this is really difficult, we mentioned the stretch before. If it's still challenging, another way that you can play this particular part is bar across 2 with the index finger on the C, E, and A. Add the middle finger on 3 of the E, and then your pinky can come up to 5 on the A. This one works here because we don't play an open string anywhere. We're just playing the 0, 2, and 3, then the 2 on the A, and then the pinky. So it ends up being a very efficient and effective way to fret it. So you can sort of pick which one you like. Both are going to work great. From here, we're going to slide our pinky up to 7 again, all open otherwise. And then we're going to slide our pinky down to 5, add our middle finger here on 3 of the E, and our index finger here on 2 of the C. And then what we're going to want to do is that index finger, we do a bar, because the very next note is going to be 2 on the A. So that's the chord shape that we were just talking about. Strip the pinky away. And by having the index finger barred over the C, E, and A strings, we can hit that 2 very easily. So that measure sounds like. And then from here, we're going to release the bar, have the index finger just here on 2 of the C. Middle finger should still be here on 3 of the E. We're going to strum the C, E, and A strings together. And then we're going to move this middle finger down to 2. And then to end it all, we just move that finger back up and play just the G, C, and E strings. So that measure looks something like this. Pretty cool, right? So there is the whole solo version of Loch Lomond as a part of a medley. If you want to play this as a solo piece, you can just repeat it, which works really well. The melody is very repetitive, and you can add more in the way of melody notes and other things based on how you hear it. It's fun to experiment and play around with a little bit. But if you want to see how you can incorporate this with the other 2 tracks in the Celtic medley, be sure to check out the description below, where you can find the tab that links them all together, as well as the tab for this and the other 2. So again, if you haven't checked it out already, the Patreon page is linked down below, where you can help vote on whatever next month's song is. Hope to see you guys there, and I can't wait to see what song is thought up for, let's see, September is the next month. It's crazy how fast time goes. In fact, September is 1 year since we launched the Patreon page, so it's just awesome that it's already been a year. But now I'm rambling. Have a great week, and I hope to see you guys again on the next video.